All right. I think we're live. I always say that when I jump on these things, I should just trust the software, right? But I always have to be sure. Uh, Go to my Chanel. Let's see here. Yes, it does look like I'm live. All right. Beautiful. Perfect. Awesome. Let me go ahead. Let me share the screen with you all. Gonna be an interesting one. What's up, North? It's nice to have you in here. Um, gonna have a little coverage of the third Elijah McClain trial. Get my there we go. Ooh, it's way low. Okay, I don't know why it always changes my audio. I don't quite understand that, but whatever. We'll deal with it. Um. We're waiting for the third trial to commence between this. I guess it would be the city of Aurora v. the EMTs that administered ketamine to Elijah McClain, which eventually led to his death. That and a cop that got off scot free by choking. Um, you know, Elijah McClain, and then the two other officers who were involved in, kicking his ass, and it just goes on and on. The first trial. Hold on a second. Bear with me just a second. I'm gonna end this program. Well, I'm not gonna end this stream. I'm gonna stay on this stream, but I gotta fix my audio. Hang tight. Test, test, test. Okay, looks like I'm still on, but hang on. I gotta make sure and get everything good to go. Uh, there. Let's try that. Let's see if that will somehow. No, it's. Oh, man. Audio issues suck. Let's see. Let's take this one off. Man. You know what? I might have to do a different window for that, but let's take this off. All right. That should help. Let's see. Testing. 1, 2, 3. All right. No, no. Fuck. I don't know how to fix that. But anyways, it's going to be interesting. We're waiting for the attorneys to get back is what we're really doing here. Um and for the trial to commence. There you go. Say it right, jackass. Say it right. All right. But it's gonna be interesting. Thanks, Northwoods. I appreciate it. Just really low. It like lowers my damn like the volume on everything. I don't know why it does that, but I'll keep an eye on it. I'll try to keep it kosher, I guess. Let me look at the sound settings here. Um, uh, Looks good there. Loop back, loop back. Oh, yep, loop back. Okay, good. Um, let's see. Yeah, let's do loop back there. That might help. Okay. So it's really interesting. If you guys aren't, ooh, wow, that was crazy. Okay, if you guys aren't familiar with the Elijah McClain story, Princess and Pirate, welcome. Nice to have you here. We're doing a little bit of commentary on a um, a case that basically, uh, what do I say about Elijah McClain, man? Basically, a young man who um was walking home. He had a hoodie on, of course, because it was a little chilly. And, by the end of the night, he was dead. And it's a lot more complicated than that, but it involved a few police officers, a couple of EMTs. He eventually was administered ketamine. There was accusations that Elijah McClain reached for a gun at one point. I was in the courtroom for the first trial, and it involved two officers. I can't Rosenblatt and can't remember the other guy's name. I mean, they're so irrelevant to me. But one was found guilty of some type of assault. He was the sacrificial lamb. Um, he'd already been fired from the police force. The other guy got off scot free. So the two officers, it was split, and it was very unsatisfying. I'll tell you guys that. The next trial was for the officer that actually had Elijah McClain in a chokehold, which was ridiculous. Um, I mean, the guy was Elijah McClain was a very soft-natured human being, um, but these guys don't care. They do what they want with you know with no regard to anything. So just a sad outcome in the first trial and a very sad outcome in the second trial. This trial that we're waiting for them to start up. Let me see if they're. Uh, let's see if they're any close to being. Oh yeah, it looks like they are. Um, looks like they are getting ready to go. Hold on a second here. Let me pull this all the way. Yes. Okay, they are back. I'm also going to have special guests joining. Ellie's going to be joining here real soon, and we will be, discussing this trial and maybe some other stuff. We'll be on for about an hour or so. So hopefully you guys enjoy the stream. And if you guys have any questions, let me know in chat, and I'll definitely answer. But without further ado, I'm going to let this play so you guys can hear, and then we will discuss.
Security system, is it stored in the regular course of your business?
Yes.
Can you tell when you're looking at the video image, the date and time of when the image is captured by your DVR system?
Yes, on each camera, it appears on the screen.
And is it up in a sort of the left or right-hand corners?
Yes,
Does it always have the date and time?
always.
Now, how accurate is the date and time?
It's 100% accurate.
You have indicated that you have multiple cameras. Does each camera capture the date and time as part of your system?
They all do.
I would like to draw your attention to August 2019. Do you recall whether or not an Aurora police officer came to your location at the Shell station on Billings and Colfax in order to see whether or not you still had the video camera footage for August 24th, 2019?
Yes,
And did you actually meet with him and give him something from your security system?
uh, yes.
How did that happen?
The officer came to me, and since I'm always in and out of the office, doing other things, I always tell PD to bring their team and get whatever they need. This was not the first time, anytime they need help, I just have, because they're more uh, savvy than me, technically, So,
And
and
so,
that's- I provided them with those little,
Well, that's really interesting. Just give the cops anything they want, because that's the way it should go.
the footage for August 24th,
I
2019.
asked the officer to take it himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, since that time, have you reviewed discs of the footage that was captured on that night?
Yes, I have.
And have you reviewed them to make sure that they were accurate?
Yes.
And at the time that you reviewed it, did you sign or date the disc in order to show that you had reviewed it and found it to be accurate.
Yes, I did.
If I approached you and showed you the disc, would you be,
Okay, I know what's going on here. They're interviewing a quote expert witness that is an expert on the disc. So this is going to be pretty boring here for a second here, but it's a good point to kind of discuss with you guys what's going on here. Basically, two EMTs are on trial here for the murder of Elijah McClain. They were the ones that were administered, sorry, the ketamine to Elijah McClain. Now, when I was in the trial, the first trial with the first two officers, they basically pointed fingers at the EMTs and said it was all them. But if you ask the EMTs, they're going to say that the police officers told them or directed them to give Elijah McClain ketamine. I'm sure in this trial it will come out a little bit more. So let's listen to more boring, um, you know, uh, what do they call this? Professional witness, or um, yeah, just like a professional witness that basically all she does is like maintain the disc, the body cam footage, stuff like that, make sure it's all accurate and stuff like that. So let's continue on, and if I have any thoughts, I'll come back on the stream.
Is there objections with respect to those exhibits from counsel for the defendants?
There's no voir dire or objection on behalf of Mr. Cooper, Your Honor.
Same for Mr. Skuniak, Your Honor.
The court will admit exhibits 124 through 134.
yes, sir. If we could please pull up People's Exhibit 124. We're going to show you a little bit of the video clip, if you could just watch it on your screen. And do you recognize this as the outside exterior of your video from your
My-
store?
Dumpster area of the gas station.
And you had earlier testified that you believe that the date and time was either in the left or right-hand corner of the video. Do you see it in the left-hand side of the video?
I do.
And does it read August 24th? It actually reads 2019-08-24, is that correct?
Yes.
And it also reads 22.
It's a great question, Canada. Why would EMTs take orders from untrained police? And the easy answer is I think you can deduct why they would take orders from these assholes, Canada, because they're bullies, right? And I have no doubt that they did take direction from the police. There's blame to be put all the way around on this case, Canada. So that's a great observation, though. I appreciate that. Let's listen on in.
Now, Ms. Akla, we are not hearing any sound. Is that typical of your videos?
Yes, we don't have sound recordings.
And in this video, where is the front door, or where is the door to your cell station? If you were looking at the video, is it at the front of the screen?
No, this is the west side of the store.
And we see a street on the other side, a little bit up in the right-hand corner. What street is that?
Billings Street.
And now I'd like to play another exhibit 127 from the beginning through 22:37:21. What are we seeing here in this clip?
That's the transaction area, and my cashier Mariah is working one register right there. And I see a few customers waiting.
And when you say Mariah, is that Mariah Gentry?
Yes,
And is she the woman that has the black hoodie on?
yes.
Is this the interior of your store?
It is.
And just to orient the jury, is the front door towards where that woman was just walking on the
Yes.
clip? Do you know any of the other people in this video?
Uh, They seem to be regular customers, you know. I don't know anybody by name, but I did recognize the lady in the green shirt. She's a regular, the one who just left.
And then the man walking out, is he going out through the front door?
Yes, he is.
Thank you. We may stop. Where does your front door face?
It faces Colfax Avenue.
I'd like to go to People's Exhibit 124, please, from 223725 through 223746. And are we again looking at the exterior of your Shell station?
Yes, it's the dumpster side, yeah.
And once again, this person is walking towards the billing side.
Yes, he is.
We may stop. Thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
You own 3 gas stations in Centennial and Aurora, is that correct?
It's correct.
Are each of them also convenience stores?
They're all 2 Conocos and 1 Shell.
All right. And you said, I believe you testified that you work almost every day. Is that at the Shell or at all 3?
All 3 stores, yeah.
So your time is kind of divided between the 3?
I'm mostly at the Shell gas station because I also manage that one. I don't have a manager, and the other 2 have managers, so
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're
Cyber Week is on at Wayfair. Now through December 3rd.
We're watching the third trial in the Elijah McClain murder. It's a murder trial. Couple of EMTs are on trial now. So if you're just joining, that's what's going on here. These are the EMTs that administered ketamine to Elijah McClain, very controversially so. We'll talk about ketamine in a bit. I'm waiting for a guest to get on the stream here, and we'll discuss it.
identified possibly 2 people in the video. Mariah Gentry was working as the night clerk that night, correct?
yes.
And does that indicate whether you would have been there that night or not, the fact that Ms. Gentry was there?
No,
Okay.
she gently covered the late evening shift till 11, sometimes midnight, yeah.
Okay, so you and she could have been there at the same time. It's just your recollection is that you're usually not there past 9 o'clock, so you probably weren't there that night.
I wasn't there that
But you
day.
were not, definitely not.
Yes, definitely not there. that
Okay,
day.
thank you. Oh, could we get defense put up there, Your Honor? Thank you. So this is a still shot from the video you just looked at. Is that correct?
It's correct.
Okay. And I'm going to put, I think you said this woman right here. Is this the one that you said you
Yes,
might know as a regular person, but you don't know her name?
I do not know the
Okay.
name, yeah.
Do you know the gentleman here wearing the tank top and the shorts and looks like flip-flops?
No, I don't know him by name.
Okay.
I've been at this location for a very long time, since 2009. So I know a lot of people from the neighborhood, but not necessarily their names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. May I have just a minute, Your Honor?
You may.
We're watching the third.
The gentleman, well, first,
We're watching the third trial in the Elijah McClain murder case. This is regarding two EMTs who administered ketamine. If you ask the EMTs, they're going to point the fingers at the police and say that the police were the ones that ordered them to administer the ketamine. Let's continue listening. This is the person in question is getting okay. So they're interviewing. They're cross-examining now the expert witness, I guess is how you would put it, but basically the owner of the gas station that was near where Elijah McClain was murdered. So they're gonna ask her about the surveillance footage, etc. So here we go. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, looks like there might be a break or something. Yeah, it does look like there might be a break in the action here. So this gives me a chance to talk to all of you. Thank you all for being here. I
Will be
really
sponsoring the exhibits. Can we get them to my court reporter, please?
all right.
Oh,
There's
you're
some
small
question
enough.
about
Yeah, just
exhibit.
no, the ones that were just admitted, please.
Hold on, let me mute this for a second. Jamie, let me address your comment here. Will the facts come out after the trial, like the George Floyd case? Um, uh, that's a good question. I mean, if it's up to the police and to the EMTs, yes, that's exactly what would happen. Let me get back to the trial here.
Tell us your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Deborah Furler, and last name is F as in Frank, Urler.
Your witness.
Good afternoon, Ms. Furler. Can you tell the jury, please, where you work
For Aurora 911.
and what's your current job there?
I am a specialist, so I do call taking, police, and fire dispatch.
How long have you worked at Aurora 911?
7 years.
And what different jobs have you had during the time you've worked there?
Started off with call taking, then moved up to police dispatch, and then fire dispatch.
And do you do all three of those things now?
Yes.
Do those each require different training?
Yes.
Can you walk us through where you started and the first training that you got when you started working there?
When you first start with call taking, you do 8 weeks of classroom training, then about a month to 2 months of like on the job with a trainer taking calls and training.
They are. I see your comment, Jamie. Yes, I did hear that Chauvin got stabbed to death. An interesting thing about the George Floyd case is they always try to make the victim look way worse. Oh, this person had a history, drug history, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, I did see that, Jamie. He is expected to make a full recovery, though. I have no idea what happened. I'm sure we'll get more information as that unfolds. Right now, they're interviewing the dispatcher. So here we go.
The radio traffic for the fire department and EMS.
And are the folks doing those different jobs, are you all in one place together?
Yes, it's all one big room.
And are you all using one computer system to facilitate your dispatch and communications?
Yes.
And what system was Aurora 911 using back in August of 2019, if you remember?
Intergraph.
Intergraph, okay. Is that the same as Pro QA?
Pro QA is the system that the CAD system is Intergraph, and then Pro QA was the system that call takers use to ask questions.
Okay. I think we can get into some more details about that. Were you working on August 24th, 2019 as a call taker?
Yes.
And do you recall that night receiving a 911 call related to an event happening near Colfax and Billings?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you this disc. May I approach your owner?
You may.
And Ms. Furler, have you recently had a chance to review that call related to Billings and Colfax that you took that evening?
Yes,
Okay, and is it on that disc 130, exhibit 137 in front of you?
yes.
How do you know that?
I've signed it.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to publish or admit exhibit 137.
137. All right, questions or objections with respect to that offered exhibit?
Your Honor, no questions or objection on behalf of Mr. Cooper.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit 137 will be admitted.
And I'd like to publish that exhibit to the jury at this time.
You may.
August 24th, 2019, 22 hours, 29 minutes, and 27 seconds.
911, what is the address of the emergency? Okay.
And Blackhawk.
Okay, is it Blackhawk Way, Blackhawk?
Street.
Okay, give me 1 second. Just repeat that intersection for verification.
Green Street and Blackhawk.
Okay, are you sure they're not on, give me 1 second. Is it possibly Evergreen?
No, this is a
Okay, well, no, I understand that. I just don't show you anywhere near a Blackhawk.
it's
Can you-
Blackhawk Street.
Okay, just stay on the line. Give me 1 moment. I don't show you, what I'm saying is I don't show you anywhere near Billings and Blackhawk.
What about Billing Street and Evergreen?
Okay, that's where I show you near. Okay, what's the phone number you're calling from?
720-285-6973.
And your name?
Juan,
And your last name, Juan?
Bingo.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
Ms. Furler, do you recognize your voice on that call?
Yes.
Okay, and can you describe to us when there's a call being made like that to 911, how does it come to you at the Aurora 911 Center?
So our phone systems, they automatically answer. So whatever call taker's available, if you're in ready status, as we call it, it'll automatically, it beeps in your ear. And you're automatically connected to the caller, and you just start with the introduction 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Okay, and could you describe for us the process that you were going through with the caller, just in that first part that we listened to?
Yeah, just address verification. So when they initially call 911, we can get their basic cell phone GPS, which is like their phase 2 is what we call it. And we can download that into our CAD system and see on the map where they're showing and it'll tell us within how many meters. And so we ask, what's the address of the emergency? And you try and use your phase 2 to just verify exactly where they are.
And were you able to do that?
Yeah, that's why I was asking, like, you don't show near Blackhawk, you show near, I was trying to make sure I was getting the right location.
And if we could go back just like a second or two, and we'll play the next portion of, and I guess, let me ask you this. How are you deciding what questions to ask a caller?
It's the same questions every time. Every time we do address verification, then you go to phone number, then get their name, and then start with, tell me exactly what happened.
Okay, why do you get their phone number?
In case we disconnect and I have to call you back, or if later on officers need to call back, any number of reason.
Okay. All right, and then if we could play again, Ms. Keller.
Bingo.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
So there's a guy, he's walking opposite of north.
South?
South, yeah, he's walking south on Billing Street, and he has a mask on.
Okay.
And then when I pass by him, he puts his hands up and does all these kinds of signs. I don't know, he looks risky, right? He might be
Okay.
a good person or a bad person.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maps on.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put a call.
It's a great point, Canada. It's a great point. Let me pause this video. We'll get back to it in just a second. Just goes to show you that the government can track you no matter what. So it's pretty crazy to think. You could be. It doesn't matter. All the phone companies are in league with the police. They definitely there's GPS on obviously every smartphone, and they have access to it. So yeah, you're right, Canada. They can find exactly where you are almost at any given time, simply with the phone number, right? So yeah, there you go. All right, let's get back to it.
What information are you getting from the caller there?
Purely just getting exactly what was happening. And then that's when ProQA, we start using that. Tell me exactly what happened. Caller will tell you they saw somebody walking on the street and they were acting suspicious or whatever was going on. And you would, for this one, open up Police ProQA and choose your event type, which is like welfare check, suspicious, could be shooting or whatever you need. And then it starts telling you what questions to ask. Like, is the caller there right now? Are they involved? So like second party, third party. And then we go into why is it suspicious? And then start getting descriptions.
Okay. And so I think right before we stopped there, it sounded like you said, I'm going to go ahead and put in a call to the officers. Is that right? So tell me why you do that. For this call, why would you do that?
Purely because somebody's calling. If any person is calling 911 and they're requesting officers to check the area for something or that they see something, it's not a choice for me if I put a call in. It's purely they've called, so a call's getting entered for officers.
Okay. And what happens within the Aurora 911 center when you do that? How do you mechanically put in that call?
So purely just with the computer, once as I've gotten their address, phone number, name, then we open up ProQA and start typing within ProQA what they're telling me and answering those questions. And it gets put into the CAD system. And I believe it's right where we stopped. When I'm saying I'm putting a call in for officers, that's when it went to the dispatch side. As soon as I hit send, as we say it, it gets dropped into the pending screen.
Okay. And is the CAD system then, it's being used by multiple people within the 911 call center?
Yes, everybody's using it.
And once you've sort of initiated that call, is everything related to that call being collected in one place?
Yes.
Okay. And can everyone working on that call see everything that's being generated for that call?
Yes.
Okay, let's play again, Ms. Kelleher.
Okay, so now?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. When did this happen? When did you see him?
Right now, he's like, I just turned around and he's like putting his hands up.
Okay, don't approach him, okay? If you need to, just drive away. I don't want you to go near him. Were any weapons involved or mentioned?
No.
Okay, I already have a call in, okay? I need to get his full description.
And so what information were you getting from the caller right then?
Basically just what the call is. So I was just gathering what he was calling for. And then I got that it just happened now. He was on scene. And then we were going into getting a description.
Okay. And you said don't approach him. Why did you say that?
That's something that basically is said to every person that's calling in either on a welfare check or suspicious party or anything, because I can't see what they're seeing. So I never want them to approach anybody.
Okay. And then if we can play again.
Ben, what race is he?
I think he's a black male.
Okay, how old does he look? I know he's wearing a mask.
No clue.
Okay, what color is the mask or what does it look like?
Black.
Black mask?
He's like a gas station on Billing Street on Fairfax now.
Okay, is it like a ski mask or what type of mask is it?
Yeah, like a ski mask.
Okay, and then what else is he wearing?
I don't know. You think that color is like a brown long sleeve shirt or
Okay.
and then black dress.
Okay.
And did you hear the caller just describe what I'm sorry, what the person he was calling about was wearing?
Yes.
And what did he say?
Black ski mask, long sleeve, I believe brown shirt and black pants.
Did you hear him say anything about a warm winter coat?
I believe so. Have to listen to it one more time just to.
Okay, do you want to hear that again?
Oh, I don't know. You think that color is like a brown long sleeve shirt
Okay.
and then black dress.
Okay. Black pants. Give me one moment. I'm just.
I heard brown long sleeve shirt.
Yes.
Okay, and black sweats.
All right, let me pause it there. He was okay. Okay, for those who don't know, Colorado does have cooler weather in the winter. So he was wearing a ski mask, which is perfectly legal to wear. It's actually legal to wear in any business, but any business can tell you, like a bank will tell you, please take the mask off, et cetera, et cetera. He had a winter jacket on, pants and whatever else they described there. But ski mask to me, like I don't understand the fear unless you're in a bank and you see a ski mask, right? I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Yes. Okay. Nothing about a warm winter coat. And is that typical to ask for the clothing description of a person?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Did you hear any concern or report about somebody walking into traffic?
No.
All right. And so then, as you are taking this call, you are entering this information into the CAD system, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if we could publish to the witness only Exhibit 148. Can you see that?
Mhm.
Okay. And Ms. Furler, do you recognize this as the CAD report related to the call that we just listened to?
Yeah, it's the police CAD report.
Okay. And can you describe for me how this report is generated?
It's purely what I type into the system, and then also it has like some of the background stuff of like the computer pulling up all of the priors and that information, and then it'll have everything that the dispatcher does on there as well.
Okay. And is this a report that's generated in the regular course of your work at Aurora 911?
Yes.
And is that information regularly stored at Aurora 911?
Yes.
And if you had a chance to review this Exhibit 148?
Yes.
Okay. And does it appear to you to be the police CAD report from August 24th, 2019 related to the call that you took?
Yes.
Okay. Move to admit Exhibit 148, please.
Questions or objections?
Okay, I'm going to mute it for just a second here. We're going to discuss this because it's a very important point. Liberty Blair, you hit it on the nose. And I was talking to someone earlier about the administration of any drugs, right? And I think it should be completely illegal to administer any kind of drugs to anybody. If you can't handle your job as a policeman, then get the fuck out of the force. If you can't, subdue somebody with 3 officers, then what are you doing? Ketamine, right? Been known to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. So the one good thing that's come out of the independent monitor being here, which I have my issues with Jeff and the team that are doing, I I don't want to say a bad job because it's not over yet. So I'm going to hold judgment on that. But I've had several meetings with Jeff and several phone calls with Jeff, the independent monitor. And we've gone round and round about a lot of things. Him, KDOT, and I, KDOT and I and him have really put his feet to the fire. Okay. And one of the things that I was upset about was any drug being administered to anybody because you don't know if anybody has allergic reactions to a certain drug. I mean, you have no clue. So any like Liberty Blair, like you said, anybody administering drugs to somebody against their will is definitely fucked up. Some people, it's against their religion, right? Some people, it's just they just don't want any drugs in their system. You know what I'm saying? There's a plethora of reasons why it's a bad idea to administer drugs to anybody. And it's not like Elijah McClain was the biggest dude in the world. I mean, he was a skinny, lanky young man, you know? Um, Ketamine's awful. And I'm glad it's not being used here anymore, but they I wanted to interview a nurse that was at one of these independent monitor meetings because she was making great points, but she refused to be on camera. And she said, ketamine causes a plethora of issues, but the other drug that I can't remember the name of the other drug that they're now using instead of ketamine, is just as bad, if not worse. So, it's terrible. They gave too big of a dose. That's another thing. Yeah, they definitely gave too big of a dose, Liberty. I'm glad you're following this case, Liberty Blair. It's a big one. Myanmar Lee, hi from Nottingham, UK. Trump 2024. It's not going to happen, Myanmar Lee. But I don't know. This is pretty incredible, this case. I hope you guys are enjoying the coverage. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's very important. So let's listen in to some more here.
Gotcha. All of police can see it. Anybody in the room actually can see it once I've hit that point.
And do people rely on that information?
Yes.
And are there systems in terms of what information people are supposed to be entering into this system?
Yes.
Okay. And is this information and a report that you generated in the regular course of Aurora 911 business
Yes.
and relied on in the course of regular 911 business?
Yes.
Okay. And you've reviewed this document, correct?
Yes.
And do you have personal knowledge that this is the information that was put into that system related to the call that evening?
Yes.
Your Honor, I think that's foundation for this as regularly recorded activity and authenticated by Ms. Furler is what everyone in the agency was relying on.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 148 will be admitted.
And if we could please publish that to the jury.
You may.
Ms. Furler, do you recognize this as the police CAD report from the 911 call you took on August 24th, 2019?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to start by looking at the columns there at the top. Get zoom in on those. So I see a date time column. Am I right that that's the date and time that an item is being entered?
Yes.
And what about the terminal column there?
So that's the CAD, the computer system that was entering information.
And is that a physical computer terminal?
Yes.
And did you say that you were CAD 18 that night?
Yes.
And what about the operator column?
That's my ID number.
Okay. And so for any person that's entering information, will their ID number be reflected next to
Yes.
them there? Okay. And then what is the last sort of large column on the right there?
That's going to be all the notes that are put into the call.
Okay. And then let's talk about the first line there where it says event created. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And it says type suspo 129C01. Did you enter that information?
That part is entered by ProQA. That's the event type I selected was suspicious person. And then it's their system to decide like suspicious circumstances is all under event 129. And it's Charlie 01 based on what options I chose.
Okay. And how did you make the decision to choose suspicious person?
All I had was that there was a person walking, waving their arms down the street. You had asked earlier if somebody was, if it was mentioned that somebody was walking in the roadway. If somebody would have been walking in the, it would have been mentioned that this person was walking in the roadway or trying to get hit by a car or something like that. I would have chosen like welfare check. But at this point, all I had was somebody waving their arms, walking down the street. So I went with.
I like how she's trying to wiggle out of a little bit there. Did you notice that she went back to the if someone had said this, if, right? Bluto, welcome, buddy. I hope you got my message. I left you a message after you um, left me a message about being blocked. You are not blocked, sir. I triple checked. And there was no reason for you to be blocked at all. I think, I don't know if you got it, Bluto, but it was someone else that was in the chat that got blocked, and it was for good reason. I left you the reason on the comment. If you need more clarification, then let me know and or email me. And if anybody ever has a problem or thinks they're blocked unnecessarily, just email me. I've got great mods like Jan Wow. So there you go.
Suspicious person.
Okay. What other choices would you have had there? You guys said welfare check.
In this circumstance, just about a person walking up and down the street, it's welfare check or suspicious person.
And am I understanding correctly that because you didn't perceive that the person was in any danger or causing any danger, you didn't choose welfare check?
Yes.
Let's see. And it looks like you put in the location there for the call. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what is agency AP?
Aurora Police.
Okay. And did you put that in?
That's once as I choose Billings and Evergreen, that's like a background system. It puts where in the city it is. So it's agency, it's Aurora Police. It's not like I'm not trying to drop a call in Denver. So it's Aurora, and then group 2 will be District 2, and then beat 12 is Area 12 within the city.
And do you know whether this location, North Billings and Evergreen, do you know what county that is in?
It's Adams County.
And then it says, I think that's supposed to be priority 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What does that mean?
It means, so for police, we have priorities 1 through technically 9. We really use 1 through 4. So priority 1s would be like shootings, domestics in progress, family disputes in progress. Priority 2s are like suspicious parties, like things that are happening right now, but nobody's actively dying, basically.
Okay. And did you choose priority 2 for this call?
The ProQA system does.
Okay. And so if you put in suspicious person, is that automatically priority 2?
Yes. And then if like I would have chosen like welfare check or anything else like domestic family, those all go as priority 1s.
And what's the significance or the difference in terms of police responding to priority 1 versus priority 2, if you know?
So when you look at your pending screen, let's say you have like a priority 1 call and 3 priority 2 calls that are all in beat 12. You're gonna look at that priority 1 call first and get that out as soon as possible, whether you have to clear an officer from a call that they're still en route to, or pull from another district, you're going to get them en route to that as soon as possible.
En route to the priority 1.
Yes, versus like a priority 2. It could, like you're going to air the information out, but you're not going to necessarily clear somebody from another call for it. It can sit there for a minute before it gets dispatched.
So it may or may not get an immediate response.
Yes.
Let's go down to the next entry there, please. Okay. And this is event remark. Did you put that information in?
The part that's all capitalized, male walking southbound on Billings, has a mask on. When RP passed him, he started waving his arms. That I typed in, yes.
Okay. So am I right that if entries are in all capital letters, that's something that you typed in yourself?
For the most part, yes.
Okay, and what about the things below that are in the lowercase letters? What is that?
So that's Pro QA asking me a question. So like, were there weapons involved? And then I have to select yes, no, or unknown. And so I selected no because that's caller said no weapons. And then second party caller, it's like first party caller, second party, third party, or fourth party. And you have to select from a list for each question.
And what does second party mean?
Second party means that they're there, but they're not involved. They're not the one, like, it's not the person walking down the street calling in.
Let me pause here for just a second and discuss the weapons thing. All right. Are we that low of a society that we believe everyone is a danger? I always say this, right? I think this may be a little bit too optimistic, but I believe that people in general are good, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be 8 billion people strong in this world. So why do we always think that someone is out to get us, out to kill us? It's like danger, right? We're conditioned to teach our kids, you don't talk to strangers because that could lead to your death. And it's very rare. I know it does happen. People say, well, if it happened to your kid, you would be upset. Of course I would be upset. I would be devastated if my kid was taken by stranger danger, right? But stranger danger is not a thing. I mean, it really isn't. Statistically, you would have more chance of getting in a car accident than stranger. And among many other things, you probably would have more chance of dying by snake bite than being picked up by a lunatic. So I never understood the, let's fear everybody because everybody is bad thing. Whether you're in the city or in a rural area, it doesn't matter either to me either. It's a ludicrous thing that people have in their minds that people in general are bad and everybody's out to get you. It's simply untrue. It is not true. And I hate when that happens, but let's continue here.
It's a second person on scene.
An observer.
Yes.
And then it says suspicious because, and then it says notes. What does that mean?
So that's just, I didn't need to retype out what I had already put into the problem.
Okay. And the notes refers back to that description in where you says problem,
Yes.
male walking southbound on Billings.
Yes.
Okay. And you describe the problem as male walking southbound on Billings, has a mask on, and when RP passed him, he started waving his arms.
Yes.
Correct. And what is the RP?
Reporting party.
Okay. That's the 911 caller.
Yes.
And you didn't say anything about him walking into traffic, correct? And who can see this information that you have put in about this call?
Everybody that has a CAD, they can. The officers can. All of the dispatch center can.
Okay. Did you mean police officers?
Yes.
Okay. How would they see this information?
They can. They have computers in their cars that they can pull up calls on.
Okay. And do you know at this time, in 2019, if fire were dispatched on this same call, would they be able to see this information?
Yes.
And where would they see it?
They also have a computer in their truck that they would be able to pull it up on.
Would they be able to see all of the police CAD report or just this information?
That block where event remark and down, they see all of that.
Okay, but not necessarily everything else in this 20-page document.
Yeah, because a lot of it is background stuff that you only see like when we're getting a print off to see all the system notes.
Okay. And then if we can go down to event remark, person one description. Do you see that? Ms. Kelleher? Back on the first page, it's just one down. Here we go. And Ms. Furler, did you enter this information as well?
Yes.
Okay, and Is this one where ProQA is asking you questions, or are you typing in this information?
Basically, so it shows description, and then I hit enter and it brings up a pop-up box. It's really hard to describe without showing it. Brings up a pop-up box where it lists all the things you could get for a description. Our basics are you need to get race, gender, age, and clothing description, but you can ask a whole bunch of other things like, do they have a cane or whatever?
And did you type in the clothing description there?
Yes,
Black ski mask, brown long sleeve shirt, black sweatpants?
yes,
Okay. Nothing about a warm winter coat?
no.
From looking at this exhibit, can you tell when police were dispatched to respond to this?
If you back out. The first officer was dispatched at 22:33.
So that would have been 10:33 that evening.
Yes.
And if we can go to the second page of this document, zoom in on the 2 event remarks near the top.
Let me comment on that, Jamie. He didn't have mental issues per se, but he did have, I believe, like a learning disability. So that may be what you're referring to, Jamie. Yeah, the police had no clue how to deal with this guy whatsoever. Does Aurora PD have body cams? Yes, they do, Canada. And if you followed my coverage of the first trial, there is body cam footage. I don't know if it's released to the public, but I'm telling you, Canada, I watched the body cam footage in its entirety while I was in that first trial. And not only the police, I put more blame on the police than anybody, just based on what I saw and what I heard in that trial, and what you can logically deduce from a myriad of evidentiary claims and evidence, period. So yeah, Jamie, there I understand what you're saying. Police had no idea how to deal. So let's continue.
And then, and if we can back out of that, and then can you see on here where it's reflected that the officer made contact with the person?
It technically, it never says that the officer made contact with the person in the notes. We just kind of have to assume that he did once as they've arrived on scene and they're starting to give information, but they never actually said to the dispatcher, or at least it's not typed in these notes, that they were in contact.
Okay. And then if we could go down to the entry at 22:45:17. What, I guess, who provided this information?
The other officer that was on scene, 218.
218. And it looks like the information entered was start fire and keep everyone coming. Is that
Yes.
correct? What does that mean?
It means start medical, so start the fire department and an ambulance, and keep all the officers that were en route to the call, keep them coming.
Okay. And that was at 22:45:17.
Yes.
Okay. And then if you can look down just below that at the event remark and event cross-referenced. What does that reflect happening there?
That's showing that a call was created on the fire side for a fire medical event.
And is that the normal response to a police officer saying start fire? That means bring medical assistance?
Yes, unless they said something for start fire, I see an outside fire, and they just say start fire. 99.9% of the time, it's just medical.
And as a dispatcher, is your response to that to immediately then send it over to fire dispatch?
Yes, you immediately, for this CAD system, you would just copy the event over to the fire dispatcher, yes.
And then if we can go down to 22:46:51. So this is a little bit more than a minute after the start fire and keep everyone coming. What information is being provided there?
218 is saying that they have the party detained, but they're still fighting with them on the ground.
Okay, and then if we could skip down to 224745 and the entry right below that. Okay, and what is the information that's being relayed here?
So this is 218 saying that the officers that haven't already arrived on scene, they can slow it down because since they were obviously fighting with somebody, all the officers that are en route are going code. So they want them to slow it down. There's no reason for everybody to be going lights and sirens. And then it's the sergeant repeating the same thing, slow everyone down.
Okay, so it looks like between 2245 was when they said start fire and keep everyone coming. And then by 224745, they're saying slow down, it's okay.
Yeah, they're not still actively fighting.
And then if we could go down to 224753 and the one right below that. I'm sorry, I'm messed up. The next 224753, right below slow everyone down. Okay. And looking in the column there where that has the $sign 316A, who does that reflect?
That's another officer call sign, 316 Adam. And since it's in that column, it means he is at his computer in his car pressing that he's arrived on scene.
Okay, so this reflects that 316A arrived at 2247?
Yes.
And right below that, is that 313? Is that another police car?
Yes.
And that person arrived at 224759 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, let's take a brief second here. Ellie, welcome to the coverage of the third trial, the Elijah McClain trial. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Hello, everybody in chat.
Doing good. We're watching basically the same trial a third time, Ellie. The first time, a couple of police officers, one was given a very light guilty verdict. The second trial was of the officer that put the chokehold on Elijah McClain, and he was basically exonerated and back out on the street. And this trial is with the EMTs who administered the ketamine. So this is the last of the criminal trials. I tried to find out if there were more civil trials. If people don't remember, the city of Aurora settled with the family of Elijah McClain for $15 million. $10 million was the cap, but $5 million was taken directly from the budget of the city of Aurora. And there's more to come. I believe there's one coming up for Arapahoe County. And there may be more. It's unclear at this point, but once I get that information, I'll disseminate it to all of you. Jamie said, who will they charge for his murder? They charged 3 officers and 2 EMTs. 2 of the officers were completely exonerated. One officer got, I can't remember off the top of my head. It was like it was like manslaughter, but not quite. And it was, the sentence is going to be very, very light. Marley says, wow, I just watched a video showing what they did to this poor guy. Yeah, it's pretty harrowing and it sucks. Justice has not been served. At least the first 2 officers should have been guilty for their part in what transpired. I cannot believe the officer that was choking the shit out of Elijah McClain get some sort of punishment. Actually, I can believe it because that's what happens. Let's see. The third trial, this trial is the EMTs, and they all point fingers at each other. If there was one thing I remember from the first trial, because I was in that very courtroom that you see on your screen there, the I lost my train of thought, but anyways, this is the third one. But if I learned anything, it's just that they point fingers at each other. You know, the police will say it's the EMTs. The EMTs will say that the police directed them, and you can hear that in the body cam footage if you did get a chance to watch it. It's online somewhere now. I think it's public information. Davin Prospector, welcome. Nice to have you here. Appreciate it. We're watching the third trial of 3 and the murder of Elijah McClain, and hoping for a little more justice here. But I mean, the justice system seems to disappoint time and time again. Mia Marley says you can't administer drugs without having a medical history. Surely, not in this case, Myanmar. They have full authority if they feel like you are a little too rambunctious to administer. At the time, it was ketamine. Now, with this trial, that's been changed. They no longer use ketamine. They just use another drug that's just as bad. So, yeah, they did. So let's. Yeah, anything you want to say, Ellie? Before
I do. I have a couple of things.
Yes.
Number one, speaking of EMTs, they didn't even ask him a single question. Do you have any allergies? What's your medical history? Nothing. They just administered it.
Yeah.
Kind of scary. I've been in the ambulance several times, and they always ask about your medical history and if you have any allergies. They didn't ask this guy anything. They just shot him up.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you and for people in chat. Just something I'm curious about.
Yeah.
The 2 officers that got off, the one from the first trial that had 2,
Yes.
and the one from the second trial. Now that they've been vindicated,
Yeah.
what kind of officers do you think they now are? Because obviously, regardless of the outcome, there had to be an impact in their life. So do you think that they start to maybe be grateful that they've gotten away with this and kind of change their ways and more understanding on the citizens? Or do you think it goes dramatically the other way where they now have a God complex because they think they're inferior and can get away with anything? Or option 3, something totally different. But, obviously, if you go through something like this, it's going to change you. It's going to have an effect in some way or another. So now they've been exonerated and they're back on the force. What kind of officers are they?
This is a great question, Ellie, and I'll answer it in a roundabout way, like I know how. Right? When somebody goes into the military, they have a glorified feeling about how it is to kill somebody, right? And it could go one of 2 ways. And it mostly goes the first way. The first way is deep remorse and PTSD, right? It's traumatic, and it tends to make people not want to do that anymore, right? But there's a very small section of people that go into the military and they end up killing somebody, and it goes the opposite way. They want more. All right. A good example of that is the American sniper. I can't remember his name, but he killed tons of people and he bragged about it left and right about how great it was and how good it made him feel and all that type of stuff. To answer your question, Ellie, what I know of the Aurora Police Department, and I'm very, very familiar with a lot of the officers there, not each and every one of them, but a good chunk, I would say. You guys know through my travels, I've dealt with Aurora PD extensively. And I would say it's the latter, Ellie, in my opinion, for the most part. I think the people in that police force are very hungry to do these type of things, right? And when they get a chance, they do it. And now that these guys have had a taste of that, I'm pretty sure that they are, gonna be itching to get back out there and do the same thing, which is why KDOT and I have put them, both of these officers, on notice and letting them know that we will be watching and we will be holding them accountable from here on out.
So
As long,
your belief is that you think that this experience will take them into a God complex.
yes, yes,
So they're actually going to be more dangerous
yes.
on the streets.
Unfortunately,
Mm.
I can't say for sure, for certainty, Ellie, but knowing what I know about that police force, knowing the people that I run across in all aspects of that police force, whether it be administrative or on the streets, you guys know I'm on the streets a lot out there. I would venture to say it's the latter, and you know why I feel that way? Because the entire process in Aurora is broken, right? It starts with the hiring. The hiring is atrocious. I want to. I was trying to break a story. I needed one more source, but I'll tell you guys this, right? There was an officer. I'm not going to mention names because, like I said, I don't have multiple sources. But there was an officer that was hired by cheating on the exam, and they caught him cheating on the exam. So the board that passes people through into the academy basically got this officer into um, into an office and said, "We know you cheated on your entrance exam, but we're going to let you through because we're short staffed." What kind of agency does that? Especially in a position of trust, right? We trust these officers with our lives. We're supposed to trust these officers with our life. How can you trust somebody if the hiring process right at the beginning is broken? And then after you get that, you get into the academy where you're taught it's us against the world, right? So if you have a police force that believes you're the enemy right at the beginning and they treat you like an enemy, then you're going to get casualties, right? They treat it like a wartime situation instead of a peacetime situation, and it's ridiculous. And it
No, and
needs,
I won't say the name because I know who
yes,
that officer was,
yes,
and I won't say the name. But does that not go to prove how it starts from the top and goes down? So when you tell the officer that, listen, we know you cheated, however, we're going to make an exception because we're short staffed,
mhm,
you send him a message that they need you more than he needs you, so he can go on and commit crimes, and it'll be overlooked because, well, you need them because you're short staffed.
yeah. The only person that's talking about the hiring, Ellie, is me. When I found that story, and you know that story, and you know who it is, um, it made a profound impact on me because I was thinking it's the training, it's the training, it's the training, right? And for the most part, that is true. The training is atrocious, right? But for me, I think the major problem is in the hiring. The hiring is should be first and foremost on anybody's mind before we even think about changing the training. You have to hire the right people first. And then once you have the right people, you can't brainwash them into thinking that everybody's a criminal and everybody, is a troublemaker and deserves everything that they get. It's just it's absurd to think that way. Earlier, Ellie, I was on here and I was telling everybody about how people are in general, right? For the most part, people are good, right? I mean, that's fact. I mean, we wouldn't be 8 billion people strong if people weren't good in general, right? I know there's bad seeds out there, I'm not saying everybody is good. I'm saying the vast majority. And when I say vast majority, I mean the vast majority of people in this world are good people. And it's incumbent upon us to recognize that, and start changing things. Let's change things with that in mind, and if we do that and we start with the hiring, I think we'll be in much better shape. And we cannot let somebody that cheated on the fucking entrance exam into our police force, because if they cheated on the entrance exam, you don't think they're going to cheat on a simple police report? You don't think they're going to cheat their other fellow officers when it comes to accolades and, just things in general? I mean, my God, we hire people who cheat on their entrance exams into the academy. Can you imagine? I mean, what if all colleges just let people in that cheated on their entrance exams because they were short of students? I mean, get real. I mean, we don't do that. That's not what needs to be done. It needs to change, and it starts with the hiring process, I think. So,
Well, and speaking of cheating,
yeah.
that still goes for their reviews when they lie and cheat, saying how amazing the officer was since their last review to give them their performance evaluation. Wouldn't it be curious to see the two officers who got off their next review?
Yeah.
What does it say for
Well,
their next review? Did they seek any counseling? Was there any training involved or retraining involved with this case?
Well, look, I can speak to that too, Ellie, because I've been put in plenty of requests for evaluations and, things of that nature. And from what it looks like, even if somebody has an issue, right? I did a story on the other big story I had was on Michael Douglas, not the actor, the sergeant that works in Aurora that's sitting on his ass in headquarters making $141,000 a year. Do you guys know why he was sitting there in the office instead of out in the field as a DUI officer or a managing officer out in the field? I'll give you the answer because I've already broke this story. He was put in a desk job because he basically let somebody sleep on the job, right? And when somebody whistleblowed, which is definitely illegal if you're a police officer, that's a no-no. If you whistleblow, oof, man, you got another thing coming. He made these are their words, a toxic work environment for that whistleblower because he was showing the emails to the actual offender. So you can see the culture that's in Aurora. It's not good. It's not good at all. And it starts at the top. Acevedo, if you guys, I'm about ready to unleash a phone conversation, or not a phone, an actual interview or a meeting that I had with, K-Dot and I had with Acevedo, and I've been waiting to unleash this recording, but I'm gonna unleash it. And it's a banger. Stay tuned for that. It starts at the top, right? If you have a piece of shit police chief, you're going to have piece of shit sergeants and lieutenants and all kinds of shit, right? So, I mean, where does it stop? Where does it end? How do we fix this? Is the question, and there's no easy solution, but it starts at the hiring, and it bleeds on into the training, and then it also bleeds into what Liberty Blair said here. We hire psychos, and you know what, Liberty Blair, you're not too far off the equation. There's been plenty of studies to suggest, and I can provide those studies for you if you guys want. You can look it up yourself. Don't take my word for it. There's plenty of studies that suggest about 65 to 70% of the police force has psychopathic tendencies or are actual psychopaths. So, I mean, that's again, it goes into hiring. We need to do a little bit better job hiring, and also psych evaluations on every single person that walks through there. Because if you're going to give somebody a lethal weapon to roam around the city and maintain order, those people better be mentally stable. Would you agree, Ellie?
Well, absolutely. I mean, a normal person, and I think that's why they probably have such a shortage that they want to call, is because normal people don't want to be in the power or in the position to go out and shoot people on a daily basis. They don't want that power. I would never want to have that power to take somebody's life. but they live for it. They train for it. They have to go qualify for shooting twice a year, but they don't have to go get a psychiatric evaluation.
Yeah,
They
it's
have to
crazy.
prove that they have a good kill shot.
Right. And I mean, Jamie brought up a good point too. He said they've been given the green light ever since they militarized the police. That's another great point. If you've noticed, most SWAT have military garb, like almost you almost think it's the army out there with the SWAT team, right? Because they have all the headgear, they have the armor, they have the armored vehicles. Like you would think it's a fucking war zone when there's a domestic dispute sometimes, some things of that nature. It's insane. It's insanity. And it just goes to show you that there's not a lot of caring in the police department. All right, they have facades. They have these little programs with youth prevention and dare and all this other bullshit that these are facades. They're not real. Police Athletic League is another one. Although they name it Police Activities League because some people aren't averse to athleticism. Yeah, Liberty Blair says we have a standing army 100%. That's exactly right. It's crazy. It's nonsense. And the other thing, shit, I lost my train of thought. But you want to listen to more of this trial, Ellie, while I collect my thoughts?
Yes.
I think it had to do with just in generalities, just hiring the right people, training. And I know what I was going to say. Instead of honoring people that have the least amount of arrest, they honor people that have the most arrest. How sick is that? How sick is it that we honor people that arrest more people, that put people behind bars? The more arrest you have, the more of a man you are. It's fucking ludicrous. I can't stand it. It's ridiculous. So let's listen to more. They're probably going on. It's a little sidebar. So let's see. Oh yeah, it's a sidebar. So we'll take a second here to speak to you all. They're having a little sidebar. Oh, they might be back.
All right, we're going to take our mid-afternoon break now.
Oh,
Please recall, don't former express any opinions, discuss the case, even amongst yourselves, do no independent research, avoid any press coverage. And we'd like to have you back here in about 15 minutes if possible.
All right, 15 minutes. You heard them. I think that's going to be a good point to stop that coverage and then just do our own little coverage, and then we'll let everybody get on to their business. But actually, let me just go ahead and stop that. I hope you guys are enjoying the coverage. Enjoy is not the right word probably, but hope you guys are at least taking in the coverage and at least enjoying the commentary. Things of that nature. Jamie says, and they don't care for the reasons of the arrest. They just want the machine fed. See, that's the thing. I don't have a problem with arresting the right people, right? If you have a raving lunatic that's shooting others in a theater, or if you have somebody harassing someone else and they won't stop, or things of that nature, then obviously rape, of course, it's not, I'm not saying I don't want any arrest, period. I mean, that would be ideal if everybody could keep their hands to themselves and just live a good life and stuff like that. What I'm saying is we should honor those that try to de-escalate and not arrest other people. I mean, it's just ludicrous. I mean, I'm flabbergasted to be honest with you. I hate the fact that I have to be the one to go out on these streets in the mean streets of Aurora, right? And fight this battle on a day-to-day basis. How many times have you guys seen me go toe-to-toe with an officer that wants to degrade my rights and take them away, and put me in handcuffs? I mean, I was almost arrested at a district simply for standing there with a camera And things have to change. And I don't see very many people actually making change, and that's why I do what I do, and that's why KDOT does what he does. And I think we're unique, at least in this area. I know there's a lot of quote unquote freedom fighters out there that aren't cracked up to what they try to build themselves at. You know, I don't know, Ellie. It's crazy. Do you have any thoughts on this trial? Um, and anything else?
Well, I think you made a good point earlier when you said that a vast majority of the people are good people. And I never really thought about that, but I want to give you a follow-up question.
Yes.
So, being the vast majority and a huge majority of people that you think in the world,
Yes.
not just in the US
Yes.
or, Colorado or Aurora specific, but just overall,
Hmm.
do you think it would be fair to say that 95% of the people in general are good people? I mean, they might make mistakes. We're not putting, a mistake as a bad person. They made a mistake. So 95% of the people are good people. Out of those 5%,
Yeah.
either they're psychos and end up in jail or they end up on a police force. Do you think that would be a fair statement?
I think that's accurate, Ellie, or military. And this is not to disparage the military. My grandfather was a World War II vet. My uncle was in the Marines and drove tanks. But I think there's validity to what you're saying. I think if you're thinking worldwide, Ellie, I honestly,
Right, worldwide.
yeah, of that 5%, I think half of those are in jail, right? And most of them are here in the United States. Is that coincidence? I think not. And then the other half probably joins some type of police force, gang, or, well, the police is a gang at this point, right? I mean, there's plenty of evidence for that. Just look at the LA Sheriff's Department and the gang activity that they do. So it's just yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, we might not be completely accurate on the numbers, Ellie, but I mean, I think it's fair to say that, of all the bad people in the world, a lot of them end up on the police force. I'm not saying every single police officer is bad. It's really tough to do this because people say, well, you just think all cops are bad. I think all bad cops are bad. How about that? It's just one of those things. Hey, welcome, Westside. Nice to have you here. I really
Hey,
appreciate
Westside. I actually want to comment on the conversation, if I can, too, with Mimar and Liberty in chat.
Yeah.
With regards to the person who called 911. I'm sure that person feels bad, but this is just my opinion. I don't think that there should be a lot on the person who called as far as being responsible for it, because they're just brainwashed. Think about how many times you see something, say something drilled into your head. Call the police if you need help for anything. If anything looks suspicious, the person needs to be educated.
Yeah.
And that education, should be sparked with a campaign, just like, war on drugs and see something, say something. How about educate that, you know what? Maybe all police officers aren't safe. You shouldn't just necessarily go to them, and get more into the critical thinking, because I'm sure that that person has to live with that every day. And it's horrible that that person has to do that, because I'm sure that it wasn't their intention that the police go and kill him. It was their intention to just, if there was an issue, to resolve it, because they trusted their police force and they made a bad choice.
I have a question for you, Ellie.
Go ahead.
How much of the police force, because I get this all the time, how much of the police force do you think are rotten apples as opposed to good police officers, percentage wise?
I'm going to be kind.
Okay.
because I don't know the entire police force.
I understand that. Neither do
And we're
I.
talking worldwide.
Well, let's just say the United States. Let's contain it in the United States. Because if you say someplace like Norway, I would say like probably 90% of the police force in Norway is good. I mean, they don't actively carry. Most of them don't have like weapons like guns to carry around. They do have other things like tasers and mace, but they very rarely use them. That's the thing. It's a rarity. It's a big.
So let me ask you to qualify the question then.
Yes.
Is the percentage from the people who are just joining or want to join,
No,
or people who are no longer rookies and are out there, not in training and actually doing the job?
take the rookies out, because I do think that the vast majority of officers, when they first get into it, have the right idea, right? And I've met a few officers like that, and I don't want to mention names because I don't want to get them in trouble. I mean, I simply don't want to get them in trouble, because if they know who I've been talking to and stuff, they'll catch flack for it, and that's another problem.
Right.
So
I'm going to go with 80-20.
You think 80-20? See, that's being very, very optimistic, Ellie. I actually think.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking at considering the smaller areas, not just the metropolitan areas.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at smaller areas and that don't really have a lot of crime. And, if somebody's drunk, they don't charge them with public drunkenness. They give them a ride home, or, let them sleep it off. There still are towns like that. So, and I did say that I wanted to be generous. So I'm going to say that 80-20, 20%, I think, can be really decent. Now, if you asked me the question on what percentage I think can be corrupted, that number is going to change significantly. And I'm probably going to go with 98 between 98 and 99%.
Yeah.
You're always going to have your 1 or 2 percenters that have their own moral ethics within inside.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times the reason that they wind up going bad or have this big drinking problem, because listen, it's not a secret that the
Cheating is
majority of them
another
have drinking problems,
Yeah.
is
cheating.
and cheating, because of what they see out there. And you have to think, if you truly, and I don't know why they would, but if you truly want to be an officer, you have to play the game. Because if you turn and want to be a whistleblower on your partner or somebody on your force, you have to consider your own safety. Because when it comes time for you to need backup, I assure you it will not be there. So only 1 or 2% is going to be strong enough to say, you know what, this shit is wrong. Now, out of those 1 or 2%, I'm not saying that they turn them in. Some do, but the others probably leave the force and retire early and do private security because of that. But I think the ability to corrupt them is strong, and it starts from training.
What do you?
And
Yeah.
go ahead.
What do you think of my idea of limiting a police officer's tenure to 10 years, Ellie?
Limiting them?
Yes, to 10 years. That's the max that you can be on the force, 10 years.
Well, I don't know if I agree with the 10 years on the force. I think I would agree with maybe being on the street. And then at that point, you have to pass a whole new level. And I think there should be an election for the higher ups that be. But if you're a really good cop, I would hate to cut you off because that 10 years comes. But then I like the idea and listen, I'm not trying to offend anybody, so please forgive me. But physical fitness is huge. And listen, I'm not a skinny mini, but I'm not a cop. Okay. But if you think that it's just easier for you to shoot somebody than to run and chase them because you don't want to be out of breath, then you should not be a cop. So listen, again, I'm not trying to body shame or anything like that, but listen, if you start out on the force and, let's say you're 6'1" and you're, 165, 175 pounds, okay. But what happens in 2 years if that number hits 275? I don't want you on the force for another 8 years.
See, this is a great point, Ellie. I think, look, if you look at the firefighters, for instance, they have a specific body type in mind. It's not body shaming to say that a person that's physically fit, that's maybe, let's say, even my height, 5'9", 160 pounds, 175 pounds, whatever. I'm a little more than that. I'm just using a fit person as a for instance. It is the only thing that they accept there. You have to be able to be physically lift things and do things that a firefighter does. Right? They have a very, very harsh physicality to that
Right.
job.
They got to be able to carry somebody out of a burning
Right.
building. They got to
Right.
be able to carry the tanks and all their gear on them. They got to be able to climb ladders.
Right.
They got to be able to
Right.
hold themselves up. They got to be able to rescue. They got to be able to do a lot. But
Yes.
they train constantly for that.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
don't see, and again, this is going to sound funny, but it's not meant to be. But listen, if there's an officer out there, I'm sorry, but it is not exercising to lift the glaze or chocolate donut out of the box to your mouth, put it down and lift it up. That is not a workout.
Right. That's
Okay.
that's reserved for people like me, right? I leave the donuts to me, even though they give me heartburn. Just I find it ludicrous that we have cops that are not physically capable of doing the job and are getting paid 100,000 or more a year, Ellie. I mean, if you look at some of the police officers that KDOT and I have featured on our channel, and I say featured because I don't want to say bashed or praised or anything, featured on the channel, the vast majority are just not physically fit to do the job. That's why I say 10 years gives us the prime years physically and probably mentally too, Ellie. Can you imagine after 10 years of working on that job how mentally fucking fit you are? You're probably not fit
Well,
for anything.
and here's the thing. Why is physical fitness not part of their evaluation?
I agree.
You might be physically fit when you're joining, but because you don't see a lot that are, I mean, you do see some, but the majority of them are not in the obese category during the police academy. But they soon become that. Why?
Right.
Because they're not walking the streets. They're sitting in their car at the donut shop. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but they really do hang around the donut shops.
Yes, they do.
Okay. They're sitting in their car. They're not going out there walking the beat like they used to back when I was a kid, where, you could talk to them and you'd find one on a corner. They're trained to stay in their little bubble and sit there, or hang out at the bars. It's disgusting. If your goal is to, and like the guy with the paint job, I mean, come on, that guy lost his life because of the paint job on his car. I just can't get past that. Or you'd rather shoot somebody in the back, or, well, I got this new nifty thing. Now I can use a taser and it can go pretty far. So I don't have to chase them because they don't want to run. Well, listen, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here, even though I think the number's higher. But I'm going to guess that, and again, this is just my guess, that 70 to 80% of the people, so we'll go right in the middle, 75% of the people that are shot from police because they ran.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think
are probably not even guilty of a crime.
why is it that running causes cops to just automatically pull that gun out and shoot? It's so weird to me. It's like, is it really worth somebody's life that maybe they did do a crime, Ellie? Maybe they stole, maybe they shoplifted, right? I've seen plenty of stories where somebody shoplifts and a cop chases and can't catch and eventually shoots, right? Why do we have to go to there? Let it go. It's okay to, I mean, shoplifting is bad. Nobody should do it. I mean, it, I mean, there's studies to suggest that it's within the margin of companies' business profit margins and, the cost of doing business. So it's not like people are stealing massively from stores, right? So why is it that we value a company's merchandise more than a human life? It blows my mind, Ellie.
But here's the thing. Let's say they were shoplifting. Let's say that they were.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's say they stole a $20 steak and, a Nintendo set. Okay. Let's just say that they stole that. And the items come up, I don't know what Nintendo costs. So let's say it's like $200. I have no idea. Okay. And they got their steak. That's not even grand larceny. Okay. They would probably get probation. But the cop decided that he was judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, see, this
crime solved, and he gets a promotion.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, Ellie. Why do we exalt these officers for having more arrests than anybody else? Like, why is that like our mentality? Like in the police force, you get promoted based on how many arrests you have, how many convictions you get, right? Shouldn't it be the opposite? And I'm not saying they should just, never arrest anybody, because there's perfect reasons for it. I just named one. If somebody's shoplifting and you catch them, arrest them. I mean, it's insanity. And here's another thing. Most of everything is covered by insurance or taxes or a combination of both. I mean, there's tax loopholes for corporations here in the United States that would blow people's fucking mind. You realize, Ellie, last year.
Well, actually, wait a minute. It's actually double dipping. Because yes, insurance does pay for that stuff, but so do the shoppers, because there is a percentage, a very large percentage, that is already built in to the price of everything you purchase.
Right.
That's how they calculate that. So the insurance premium that they have to cover is already included in the cost of that product. Okay, that's why there's price differences at different stores. Okay, so everything's already included in there. And listen, I'm not for shoplifting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, I think that there should be a punishment for it. But I think that you have to first do your investigation. You have to prove that the item was stolen. And not that there's a good reason why, but sometimes there are. And the punishment has to fit the crime. That's why it's not set at an exact thing. A judge gets to use their discretion. So, like, if you're a repeat offender and you're stealing cars and stuff like that, you might serve jail time. Versus if you're stealing, a sandwich, you might just get 3 months probation. And it's not like a locked number. You stole something, and this is the punishment for it. It varies on what it is. So I think you need to do a little bit more to find out. I'm not saying that I support it, because I want to make that clear. I do not support shoplifting, but think about what if it, and I hate to bring it back to this, but because it still doesn't make it okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what if it's somebody who's homeless, or trying to feed their kid, and they just had, they don't get their subsidy, or they don't get their paycheck for a couple more days.
Right.
Well, we did away with the times where you could, owe it and then come back on Friday and pay it, like back in the old days where you could have an account and things like that. That's all gone. but sometimes people just need a little help. Maybe the store wouldn't even want to press charges, but the cop took it upon himself to take your life for it.
Right.
So, there's no working through anything. And let's be honest, their punishments are quite different than our punishments.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's weird. And here's another thing that I think about quite often, right? And nobody, including the independent monitor in Aurora, and no police officer agrees with me on this either. I wonder why. The punishments for police officers if they do wrong should be doubled. And that goes
That's what I said. They should
go-
absolutely be doubled.
you go all the way from the bottom, like something as as benign as like shoplifting, um all the way, or even a parking ticket. Let's go there, right? A parking ticket. If an officer gets commits the crime of double parking, right, since we were talking about that case with the paint job, then their penalty should be double. So if the penalty is $100, they should have to pay $200. If speeding cost, depending on the amount of speed that they went over the limit, should cost you double. And without question, it should be put into law federally. If an officer of the law breaks the law, then they have to pay double the fine. And that would quell a lot of people's anxiety over police officers, right? If we started seeing, if a police officer gets caught speeding, instead of getting off like they always do, oh, you're a police officer, oh, let's rip up this ticket, right? If they get double the fine, then I think people would really appreciate that. And I think cops would probably be more inclined not to commit crimes as police officers, right?
And the biggest offenders of DUIs as far as an occupation is police officers. But they don't get charged at all.
Right. And that's what I'm
How
saying.
about they lose their license and instead of 1 year, it's 2 years. If the
Yes.
fine is supposed to be $2,500, it's $5,000.
Yes.
If they have to, go to a program for 90 days, it's 6
180.
months.
Yep.
If there's jail time to be served, it's double as well.
Right.
Because there should be no excuse, but I constantly, and listen, it's not just in one area, but you could Google it on YouTube alone, and you will see countless of videos where officers are drunk and they don't get charged and they just get given a ride home. And that's it. Nothing else happens. Do you think that they're not going to do it again? I assure you they're going to do it again.
Right. It's like there was this wrestler. Her name is Tammy Sitch, right? And she was super popular in the WWE in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, right? And she's a serial DUI artist, right? I mean, she's gotten arrested more times than Carter has liver pills, to use your reference, Ellie. That's an old school reference that not a lot of young people would know. So she ends up getting in a car again, drunk and high on weed, which gives weed a bad name, but it was actually the alcohol. But she got behind the wheel, right? And she ended up killing a 75-year-old man. And she got 17 years for it. And you're right. If you drink and drive, you're most likely gonna do it again. I mean, so with these officers, eventually they're gonna get somebody killed, and of course they'll probably get off, with a slap on the wrist, maybe at most a little bit of probation, maybe house arrest.
And they don't lose their job either.
Yeah, that's the
But there's a moral clause that they sign when they sign on with the police department. So why isn't that ever used? Why isn't their own moral clause on how they represent their area ever called in to say, I'm sorry, but you can't. I mean, I know an officer, well, I don't know him, but I know of him, whose spouse had 6 DUIs.
Mm-hmm.
Never lost her license. Never.
Golly, man.
because they just know that she's a cop's wife, so it expands. Like, it's ridiculous. Not what you know, but who you know.
Yeah, yeah. Armchair Observer, thank you for being here. I didn't welcome you in earlier. Says, take the manual override off the body cams and have the car data / dash cam available to the public.
I have said that many times.
I agree 100%. I actually would take it one step further. I think the public should have access to those body cams 24/7. And the argument that I get against it, right? And I'm not talking when you're going to the bathroom. If you're going to the bathroom, that's that's a private moment. And if you're on lunch, you should call, "Oh, I'm on lunch," and then somebody over there hits the button to turn your camera off, right? But not you. You should never, as a police officer, you should be thinking you're being watched all the time, right? So I would actually have it to where the public could just, type in an officer's name. Oh, I want to see what Officer Johnson is doing in District 2, right? So you push in the button, and there's the camera, and you can see what he's doing. I think then it would probably not quite eliminate the need for cop watchers, but I mean, everybody would be a cop watcher at that point, right? We could all have a first hand view of what's going on in the streets, and what, holding our officers accountable. And there should be easy access to complaint forms. So if we are watching Officer Johnson in District 2 and he happens to be rude to a citizen, we should have the ability to immediately clip that out and send it to internal affairs and say, hey, this person was rude to this citizen. Take care of it in internal affairs. I mean, and do it anonymously too.
Well, and you could just send the clip of the video.
Yep, just send the clip of the video. Here you go. And then, you get a number, and like 123U. And we did an investigation, and we found that.
But I gotta say, I think that is a brilliant idea, and resolve that issue. If you have to go, first of all, I mean, most people wait for their breaks at work anyway, but every now and then you might have to go to the bathroom when it's not your scheduled break, whether it's your 15 minutes or your hour break or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you call into headquarters and say, you know what, I got to take a personal break. And then, they shut off your body cam, you go do your thing. And then, then you're allotted so much time. Okay. Yeah. It's not going to be, you got to go to the bathroom for an hour. Okay.
Right.
And you have to report back in within 10, 15 minutes. Okay. At most, it doesn't take that long to go to the bathroom. And before you can, make your car even go into gear, you have to call back again, because there's no accountability. There's no police report or anything that is a chart that police officers have to write what they did on their shift. All they have to do is share with you, tickets that they gave, that stuff. But just what they do on an everyday basis, they don't have to report in.
Right.
So, I know that when I was working, I had to do reports, so you knew that I was doing my job. I had accountability, I had goals, my bosses knew what I was doing, all the time, but we don't know what police officers are doing. We have no idea when they're in their car and they're not pulling somebody over, what they're doing.
Right. And you know what? Again, I go just to my anecdotal evidence of me being out in the field and observing, right, Ellie? But I think at this point I got a good enough sample size to tell you. And KDOT and I actually argued about this, because the question I posed to KDOT was, do you honestly think that the Aurora PD is understaffed? And he seems to think that they are understaffed, and I have the opposite view.
And I agree with you. I don't.
I think they are overstaffed. All right.
Yep. But they're mismanaged.
They're mismanaged and overstaffed. And we went back and forth, and I'm going to get him to see my point eventually, because KDOT and I usually work out differences a lot better than a lot of other people, and we can think rationally. And it's why we work so well together, right? So uh so I made the argument that, how many times have, and this obviously it's just anecdotal, but I think, like I said, there's enough, you know sample size to come to a decent conclusion that they waste more time than not. I can't tell you the number of times, and I when I first started this channel, I was known to be the cop scatterer, right? I would find 10 cops just hanging out in a parking lot, and I would go up to them and I would ask them, "What are you guys doing?" And none of them would have an answer, or they'd roll up their window, or I mean, you can see all this on video from some of my earlier videos, right? I mean, what are they doing? They're just sitting there and they make the excuse, "Oh, we're doing reports." All 10 of you or 12 of you were doing reports. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Well, see, now here would be my statement if they said that. Well, are you conspiring? Because your report should be done independently.
Mm-hmm.
What you observed might not be what somebody else observed, so you don't get to talk about it. Now you're tainting it.
Right.
It should be your own thing. So, yeah, I don't want to hear you're doing reports. And if you tell me that you're all on break, well, then I got a problem with who's scheduling breaks, because you shouldn't all be out on breaks. 10 of you, who's out there patrolling?
Right. I think you also made a great point earlier, Ellie, about patrolling, right? Modernly, we think of patrolling as cars. The cars are out there, and I mean, if you're in a car, I'm in a car quite a bit. I drive a lot. Um, you're less likely to do anything physical or interact with anybody, right? So getting out of your car and walking makes a big difference in a lot of ways. It makes a difference in your physical health, and it also makes a difference in your mental health when you actually talk to people and realize that the people you are supposed to serve, because I can't put protect in there because the Supreme Court made a horrible ruling that they're not responsible for your safety, which is bullshit. I mean, it used to be protect and serve, right? Now it's just serve, right? So if they're out there serving you, they would serve you best by at least knowing who the fuck you are, you know? And I guarantee if you asked a lot of these officers that actually live in the city, would you like to patrol your own area on foot? They would jump at the chance. I'm pretty sure they would, unless they're 200 pounds overweight or, something like that. But if you have a physically fit officer and you ask them, we're going to do a new initiative. We're going to start walking the streets. I think they would be receptive to that, unless they were psychopaths. I don't know. Patrolling.
And even if it was only half of your shift, like take turns and split it up. Walk through neighborhoods, get to know people. Then you'll know without assuming. Imagine if the police officers with Elijah McClain knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
They could have.
Right.
They could have easily. I'm sure he's left his house more than that day. Would you have been walking the streets? Hi, how you doing? I'm Officer so-and-so. Nice to meet you. How's everything going around here? Any problems or concerns? Anything I can help you with? And, and then help them with it. And hey, maybe also require them to, just a little bit of education on the law so they would know, instead of just typing in keywords and their computer tells them what to charge you with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That'd be nice.
What do you think about community policing, Ellie? Because there's been a lot of talk about that. Community policing.
As far as what?
Like, actually, the community itself kind of polices itself in a lot of instances. Like, I'm not talking like murders and high crime, like rape and stuff like that, but for little stuff like I don't know, for instance, littering. You call upon your fellow citizen. Hey, dude, you dropped that piece of paper. You mind picking it up? Or you yourself go over there and pick up that piece of paper and make things right. Like I understand the concept of community policing, Bluto, but the thing is, nobody nobody really wants to respect another human being's rights when it comes to those type of things, rights to a better city, right? And these aren't like constitutional things; they're just moral conundrums, right? Should I pick up that piece of paper? Should I tell that person to pick up that piece of paper? Like what do you think of more community policing, like having actually people patrolling and kind of, you know, not laying down the law per se, but like having a presence more than anything?
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't either.
You know, because you're really just trying to educate and let's say, you know what, that's kind of wrong to do. And, you know, let's try to keep this place cleaner because I live here too. And I don't want to look at it. I mean, I don't think there should be this power where technically there is, you can make citizens arrest, but I don't think that there should be this power where, you know, you can just go and arrest somebody or manhandle them or anything else like that. But
yeah.
I mean, I've done that where, you know, excuse me, and you know the person didn't drop it by accident or and missed it. You know that. But, you know, I've been like, oh, excuse me, you dropped something, and I'll pick it up and hand it to them. And they'll be like, oh, it's trash. And I'll kindly, you know, show, oh, well, there's a trash can over there.
Right.
You know, because I hate littering.
I do too, and I did a whole series, rabbit hole, 1 through 4 of a cop that littered, and then that's the reason why I mentioned that. It's not a huge issue, right? Littering. It's not like rampant. Like I mean, people don't litter beyond litter. I know I've seen a few people litter, but I mean, it's pretty benign, right? I mean, it blows away in the wind, or somebody picks it up, or they pick it up, or, you know, the street sweepers pick it up, or whatever, right? But it's a good example of like what can be, you know, with stuff like that. Liberty Blair says, nope. I've heard a cop say, I don't shit where I eat in regards to patrolling their own, you know, area. I mean, every excuse in the book, right? Liberty Blair. I mean, that's just this. Jamie Todd says communities policing themselves is anarchy. I'm not saying get rid of the police, Jamie. What I'm saying is I think less of a police presence is sometimes a good thing. You know, they don't, I mean, I've already I've already talked about how, you know, cops are basically underworked and overpaid. You know, and that's just from my own anecdotal evidence, which can mostly be seen on this channel. But it's a good enough sample size to get a good feel for what really is going on out on the streets in Aurora, Colorado, and Denver and Lakewood and other places, you know. But I don't know. Here, Bluto is clarifying. He's saying community policing is having them walk the beat, get off of their ass, and you know, roadrunner the damn car all day. Yeah, that we.
And I said that earlier. Absolutely, it's going to help them with their weight. It's going to help them stay fit, but it's also going to help them be involved with the actual community. But I think police force views the community as fellow officers.
Right.
Not the citizens that pay for their salary.
Right.
If I'm, you know, using my money to, you know, my tax-paying dollars to pay for you to have a job to, you know, serve, because I can't say protect, to serve my community, I want you to do that. And you're not doing that at Dunkin' Donuts or at the pizza shop or at the coffee shop or sitting in a parking lot chatting with another officer, you know, with your lights off, you know, just killing the time until your shift is done. You know, get out there and get to know people, talk to them.
Right.
You know, we're not the enemy.
Hey, Vegas Paranormal. Sorry I didn't hook up with you in Vegas. It was chaotic, Vegas Paranormal. I really wanted to. I saw your comment. And, you know, next time I'm out there, I'm usually out there once a year. So next time I'm out there when there's not all the F1 shit going on, we'll hook up and we'll do some ghost hunting. That'll be fun. George Daly says they despise us. And we covered that, George. We did cover that earlier. And that has to do with the training and how they are taught that it's us against them. It's us against the world, and they are the enemy, and they are to be treated as such. Those aren't the exact words, but a lot of the wording in those trainings is pretty spot on to that. It's not quite that egregious, but it's it's the insinuation. So Liberty Blair says, I think there was a story where a police chief had his deputy or department walk and get to know the community. It helped with the crime rate and people trusted them more. City council fired him because they didn't make enough money. Well, there you go. I mean, therein lies the root of all evil, Liberty Blair. Money. It's all about money. Well, I thought about that too, and KDOT and I discussed this on a live stream. I think they're overpaid. I think the starting pay for their job was the pay was made when the job was dangerous, and it's way less dangerous now than what it used to be. So I think the pay should reflect that. To be honest with you, so a lot of problems within the police force. We're not going to solve it all here, Ellie. Any final thoughts before we take off here, because I had a couple things to do. I'm going to release that conversation with speaking of police chiefs, Chief Acevedo here. Maybe within the next few days. I got to try to clean it up a little bit. The background audio is pretty distracting, so if I can get that taken care of, oh boy, do I have a I called it an interview earlier, Ellie, but it was actually just a conversation that KDOT and I had with Chief Art Acevedo of the Aurora PD. So I think now is about the time to come out with that conversation. I think people would be really interested in what Mr. Acevedo has to say. So any thoughts? Any final thoughts, Ellie?
No, I'm just glad that you were covering this, and I think it was a good conversation. And, I mean, there's got to be an answer out there. And like I said, I mean, even come up with little ones like, hey, when the body cam needs to be turned off, you got to call in for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's on. I think is great. Start with steps like that and find ways to improve. I just want there to be, honestly, I want things to get better. And I don't see it, but I'm trying to stay positive, and it's just getting harder and harder.
It really is, Ellie, and you know what? It's disparaging. Why do I do what I do, Ellie? Like here I am, an older guy, getting into this game. I've been at it for a while. I've been on YouTube for 16 years, but I've noticed and I've seen things, and making a difference is hard, but I think I'm going about it the right way. And I appreciate all the support, I mean, from, the mods like yourself and Jen, Ellie, and all the chatters. You guys are really what fuels fuels me to keep doing what I'm doing, because if I was left to my own devices, I probably would have just given up, because it is hard to keep going. But gonna keep doing what I do. I still got a few things left to accomplish. So that's what we're gonna do. All right. I think that's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, you guys are what fuels my fire. Make sure you comment on this video or other videos. It gives me content for Saturdays. So make sure you do that. Ellie, did you want to say something else?
No, just gonna say see you later, guys.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. I will try to cover more of this. I think it's going on tomorrow. Tomorrow's my off day, but I might feel saucy enough to do a video tomorrow and catch more of this trial. Obviously, this is of big interest to people like myself and KDOT and Ellie and other people. So, if you like this, tell your friends. I mean, I put it up on the banner there. It's the only way that this channel is going to grow is if you guys tell other people, maybe, tell them to give me a sub. If you're lurking and you haven't subbed yet, I mean, what are you doing? Sub. Sub. I hate to be the YouTube guy that's always begging for subs, but here I am. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys and gals out there. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys soon. All right.
Stay safe, everyone.
Yep, stay safe and have a great day. Thank you so much, Ellie, for joining. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your insight as always, and see you guys on the next video.